kitchen, hold on, shitting on these bitches when they do. Wish I could forgive and let it go, but they said I couldn't, and I went and did it on my own too. Now it's time to spread my wings and go. Yeah.
You're in a classroom as a teacher, you tend to use that space, that's physical space. When you're weaving between students, you're walking up and down an aisle, you're using your hands, your gestures, all of that was gone, right? Instead, what you're doing is you're relegated to this chair and you're sitting here for God knows how many hours a day, right? So there's that element of physical space that lacks, right?
So it is about mobility and movement. As you move through class as a professor, students get to move and chat with each other through the libraries, through the corridors, and all of that. So one, mobility gets affected and impacted. That's the first one. And tactility, which is I think you also learn by doing activities and touching things and feeling things, and that those two aspects have been done away with. So instead of the active learning process, it is a passive learning process.
Fieldwork and practicals had to evolve in a different way.
Like everybody else, we have moved to an online work from home kind of scenario where students are online and we are sort of teaching them. It has been a huge paradigm shift.
One of the things that I really enjoyed doing, especially in algorithms and coding courses and so on and so forth, is having groups of students and working with them in real time.
The quality of education, the knowledge and everything that we want to give the students, and they need to, take it in. Now the attitude has become as such that, okay, we have to just do MCQs and we just need to really ask the faculty or, really ask for a question bank or something and we are done. We are just done.
As teachers, we look for visual cues, non-verbal visual cues. So the slight nod or the slight tilt of a head or a raised eyebrow, right? These are the things that we as teachers look for in our students. Even if they're not communicating to us verbally, we'll get a sense of, are they getting it? Now, all of our students have their videos off.
If people don't put their videos on, then you don't really know whether you're getting across to them or not. That it's like one entire channel of communication is just repressed. It's not there. So
from the institution that I'm from, Whistling Woods, where most of the teaching is actually very practical. It's actually very hands-on. So the philosophy is actually learning by doing. So, whether that's editing or learning sound design or learning production design or acting, where you're sort of face-to-face with another actor and sort of learning off those cues. So it has been very, very difficult. Projects that are of a practical nature. It has been very, very hard because to replicate that kind of practical hands-on learning virtually is either extremely difficult or impossible, whichever way you want to look at it.
The advantage of us being an autonomous college, we were able to push for descriptive answers. And when we frame questions itself, it's done in a way that your personal opinion or personal engagement is visible. So when you see somebody who has copy pasted, I suppose, or when you see somebody who has not given an authentic answer, it's quite visible to us through our experience, through our knowledge of the subject.
Particularly in our subject, we have found a way to still get them to conduct practicals, but to conduct them at home. So not as controlled conditions in a lab. And we have still managed somehow to get our external examiners in so that using breakout rooms, students conduct their experiments in the breakout room and the examiner pops in and out of that room to make sure that they're doing well. We've increased the Viva component, which means that we check them orally for more of the stuff than we used to check earlier.
And we do that through assignments that students have to do. That gives us certain kind of things. So we have a certain process of continuous assessment. And of course, all the practical courses, and there are a lot of practical courses in filmmaking, is a practical subject in any case. So I think about 60% of our course time is spent on practical work. You can't cheat practical work.
So we did away with normal testing. There's no proctoring anymore for our exams. We don't even call them exams. These are assignments. And I think at some point of time, as faculty members, we have to trust our students to do the right thing. If they don't, then well, they'll get into the real world and figure out what is right and what is wrong.
It depends. Like I still know a lot of teachers who just download Skype and will just continue teaching, like talking like how we're talking, and that's about it, and play on the piano. Whereas I've seen like multiple cam setups, softwares being used. Like I use a bunch of softwares like MuseScore, Meticulous. These are all like open source softwares, so you can download them. And it's gotten me a lot more involved with even technology whilst teaching. To be very honest, I don't see myself going back to in-person teaching because I hate the traveling aspect, especially in Bombay. Like moving around is like such a pain.
All been centered in one space. So you have your drive folders where you can upload notes. You have YouTube, which is again a Google platform. So you have Classroom, which is great for attendance, quizzes, um, you know, uh, putting up class summaries, any notices that you want to put up, and it's sort of like a one-stop shop for everything.
Again, it's been tough because now I have to restrict. There is something that it's psychological, wherein you have to show something to the students so they can be involved, I would say. So I have to keep a presentation format or stuff like that, wherein I am trying that to make my class interesting with interactive activities or something or the other.
I try to begin my classes with some kind of little energizer, okay, any kind of a little icebreaker, and sometimes it's random questions like reasons to scream, okay, or sometimes it is a particular object that is around you, starting with, let's say, the letter G, all right, and we see how to sort of just begin in a fun way and connect.
The bigger challenge was student engagement. How do I keep a bunch of 20 something year olds interested in, Shahi Tukra for an hour and a half, right?
Zoom classes or Google Meet classes or, all of those kinds of things, they have their limitations in terms of the interaction that you're able to do. And, touch wood, I believe that, teachers have really tried very, very hard through, now is, more than a year. And they've really tried hard to motivate students and make classes interesting and interactive. And I think, the connectivity, the interaction, the kind of facilities, the kind of features that all of these platforms have to offer, they're very good. You can sort of share your screen, you can collaborate on documents and sort of give feedback. You can put up whiteboards and use them as and write on them and things like that. So I think, from a collaborative potential, the softwares are excellent. And, we've had very little downtime, we've had very little problems with any of the softwares.
Boring as hell, right? So let's say I'm talking about how to set up a private equity fund, right? So at the end of that 15-minute or that 10-minute lecture, the video recording, at the end of it, I'll have a short MCQ, right? So which the student does not have to engage with. It's not part of the assessment at all. It's just a way of letting the student know that these are the questions you should be able to answer at the end of this lecture. Right?
In terms of YouTube documentaries, having those video sharing platforms that allow me to screen documentaries or screen videos, short videos in class have been effective in facilitating discussions.
We have lots of new software, Mural, These are for art design. So you can actually do a lot of, you can actually create a live blackboard. You can put a, pin board, you can put pin-ups and, erase each other's scribbles over there. So you can actually literally create a virtual classroom.
Student will tend to lose their attention. So that is why it is required to attract them. Now, how to attract them? Use these different modes wherein do not give them everything straight away. Attract them, bring them to your discussion, and then I try to explain each and every point in detail. So once I explained the point in detail, the things got clear to them.
Teaching has become very difficult because generally what a teacher does is they try to thrive off the energy that is provided to them by the students in the class. And that energy just doesn't come from the teacher and the student. That energy also comes from the relationship between the students.
Having to work simultaneously from home because classes didn't stop was a strain, but then he got used to it.
There is a saying that teachers has to take all the pain. They need to lose their sleep for the education of others' kids. So when such responsibility is there with the teacher, then the pains which are going to come in this process, that is a part and parcel. So there is nothing much to think about on this.
As a faculty member, that, "Hi, professor, how are you?" Just that line, like, "How have you been, sir?" Right? Or in the middle of class, "Professor, we're really tired. Can we get a break?" I miss that.
It's been challenging. It's been definitely very, very challenging. And I have to find ways, creative ways to sometimes keep your sanity, because for all of us, my colleagues in Srishti, students in Srishti, you get calls from them, and there are anxiety issues. A lot of kids have, a lot of students have, a lot of other faculty also have.
One is that private space has been there, technological access has been there. Have I missed the emotional connect with my students? Yes, enormously so. But in terms of physical hardship or scarcity, it hasn't impacted me personally. But I do know that a lot of people have been impacted by it, and I can empathize completely with that situation.
I miss being able to connect with my students just through, visual cues, meeting them at the eye level.
There's a lot of gratitude to be able to still do the work that we do, and in a relatively safe way.
It's made us realize how deeply connected we are to our students, more than just what information or what education we are actually providing to them. Right? I think COVID-19 has made us realize that if not for students, we wouldn't be teachers. Let's just put it that way, right?
It is a difficult time. I think mentally there is a strain, on everybody around us, and this whole fear of what is happening, is there. But this too shall pass, I suppose.